McCarthy and Biden are playing chicken over the debt ceiling. Both intend to raise the debt ceiling. It's just a matter of what are the terms in doing so. I'm going to say something rather controversial, and that is I think we should default on our debt at the national level. I know, a lot of people say that would be devastation. It's unthinkable. We can't even imagine what would happen if we did that. But I'm going to say that's what we should do, folks, and I'm going to explain why. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar, an accountant by trade, and so I'm going to be talking about some of the numbers here and just kind of how this would actually look. Individuals bankrupt all the time, and nations do as well. We're going to get into all that. We cover things here on this channel that the news media is either too lazy or too corrupt to cover, and that's why this channel is important to the YouTube and to the internet. So glad to have you on board. Please hit that thumbs up button to get this out to more people. And we also want to thank our sponsor, Genesis Gold. If you have retirement funds that you want to make sure are safe and secure, not in stocks and bonds, you want to get it over into gold, silver, platinum, you might want to talk to Jonathan and his team over at Genesis Gold. You can find them down in the description down below. A lot of people said on this channel that they've just gotten treated really, really well by them. So, all right, folks. So a lot of people out there say that it just can't happen. We can't have a debt default. The United States government it's unthinkable. Well, sovereign debt defaults happen all the time. Venezuela has done it 11 times, and people still seem to loan them money. Argentina, Portugal, Italy, Ireland, Greece, Spain. Those don't really sound like such bad countries to live in, do they? And yet, they've all defaulted multiple times. In fact, the United States has defaulted twice already, both in 1782 and then also in 1933. We've defaulted twice already. Is our fiscal situation better or worse than those times? Well, it's worse. Yeah, it's definitely worse. In fact, sovereign debt defaults by countries has happened so many times that Wikipedia has an article up of countries that have defaulted since 1557. And let's just say it's page after page after page after page. Over 300 sovereign debt defaults in the last 450 years. That's a lot of defaults. That's not quite one per year, but it's like in the vicinity of one per year. I couldn't even count them all. There were just so many. Spain has defaulted 18 times. Portugal has defaulted 6 times. Greece has defaulted 6 times. And we're not talking about like ancient history here either. We've had a lot of debt defaults in the 1900s, and we've even had a bunch in the 2000s. So it can happen. The United States could just stop paying. And you say, well, won't that really hurt people who have treasury bonds? Yes. And you know who mostly has those treasury bonds? Banks. Banks, billionaires, and foreign countries. Doesn't sound so bad now, does it? Banks hold a tremendous amount of the U.S. Treasuries. So we have $31 trillion that the U.S. federal government owes. California just last week defaulted on some of their debt. If California can do it, why can't the U.S. federal government do it? We have $31 trillion in federal debt, and let's just be honest, we're not going to pay that back. We have a couple ways out of the situation we're in. Really 2 main ways out of the situation we're in. We can default now, or we can use rampant inflation to get ourselves out of this crisis. We're spending over $1.5 trillion, and that's, let's just say, a conservative estimate. We have a $1.5 trillion deficit every year, so we're spending an extra $1.5 trillion more than what we're taking in every year. But this year, like last year, it's going to be higher than that, probably more like 1.8, or up all the way up to $2 trillion. So when you're still spending $1.5 to $2 trillion more than you're taking in every year, you're not exactly digging yourself out of the hole. You're actually just digging the hole deeper right now. And why do we keep spending more than what we're taking in? Because we haven't had a crisis. We just keep selling more Treasury bills and people just keep on buying them. People are loaning the U.S. federal government inordinate amounts of money as if there is a 0% chance that the U.S. government will default on it. Because all these banking industries, all these lobbyists for all these rich people keep lobbying the federal government to absolutely never consider a debt default, so that these rich people can keep making their money off the Treasury bills that they have. Really, it's welfare for the rich. That's what it is. They just buy up all these Treasury bills, and because it's unthinkable that the U.S. government will default on them, they can then borrow almost all the money that they just spent on that Treasury bill on buying more Treasury bills. They can stack them up so that they can leverage up their money to the point where they are making money off of just loaning the government money. These are the kinds of people that honestly should be punished. They are making extremely risky investments with the U.S. federal government, which can never possibly pay back these loans. And they really should have an adjustment. By defaulting, by simply not making our payments in June, maybe in July, what we can do is we can go into a situation where we start negotiating with the people that have those Treasury bills. If we stop paying, the price and the value of these Treasury bills will drop dramatically. It's not unforeseen that we could cut our $31 trillion debt down to $15, maybe $10 trillion. We could just basically renegotiate and get it down significantly. Now, there is market forces always at play. When you do that, there is a consequence for that. The interest rate will go up. People will start charging a much higher interest in order to loan the U.S. government money. But with a lower debt, but a higher interest rate, it really will be kind of a net wash for the United States, except for this. All those loans that we already have, they'll still be at relatively low interest rates. It's just the newly issued debt will have a higher interest rate. And by having this crisis, hopefully we can actually start talking about balancing the U.S. government budget. That would really be what we should do. That way, the pain hits the people that have taken these risky investments, who chose to take on these willingly risky investments. They gambled with their money, and they may lose a lot or most of their money on that. But they chose to loan the U.S. government their money. The only other option is we use inflation to make it go away. And who do you think inflation hurts the most? If you said the little people, you're absolutely right. Low-income people will bear the brunt of inflation. Rich people have ways of escaping out of inflation, and they will. They do. So who gets stuck with the bill? That's right. Lower income, middle income people will get hammered by inflation. And that's exactly what the U.S. government and what the banking entities want to happen. They want the U.S. government to use inflation to get rid of this debt, to make it manageable. And that means that the banks will get off scot-free, making money. Billionaires will keep making serious money. All the people with major estates and everything like that will continue to make lots and lots of money. People like Bill Gates, who have lots of farmland that they've bought up, they'll get off scot-free. They'll actually get richer through the process, honestly. And middle America, lower income America will get hammered with inflation. So yeah, we should default on the debt. And the fact that the U.S. Congress is not even considering the possibility of defaulting on the debt, the U.S. Senate's not even considering the possibility, the U.S. President's not even considering the possibility, tells you exactly who runs our government. The People with all the money. People with all the money want a whole bunch more money, and they don't care if they have to soak all of the poor people for it. They, mark my words, not considering a debt default is really a massive transfer in wealth. They want to spend all of your money through the federal government, and most of that money that comes out of the federal government goes into the contractors' hands, goes into the elite's hands, and we get shafted yet again. Friends, we should default on our debt. That's the only moral. I know, it's crazy. It sounds immoral, but it's actually the moral thing to do. Who's going to pay this debt? It should be the people that loan the money. If you can't get the moral courage up to balance the budget, then the people that loaned the irresponsible people the money should be the ones who pay the bill. That's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. And if you are on Twitter, you might want to check out the Poplar Report over on Twitter. I'm starting to post over there a little more frequently. And honestly, I think we're going to be looking at that as potentially being the most viable backup site. More viable than Rumble, even though this channel does get posted on Rumble as well as Odyssey. But I think Twitter is going to be potentially the number one safe haven in the future once they start offering videos over there. So you might want to start getting ahead on the curve on that and get over on Twitter and just start following some of the channels and stuff like that that are over there, because that might be where we end up if YouTube comes down heavy on all of us. All right, folks, if you haven't signed up for the newsletter already, we got a link right there for the newsletter. Got another video up here from this channel. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report out.